this is the worst part of the job, and like I hate this, everything. Like, she's giving me my death speech, right? And like she's like, yeah, this is one of the worst forms you've ever seen. She gave me like a prognosis right there, which I don't even think she was supposed to be doing.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
She was like, at this rate, it's like you got like probably like 5 years to go, and it wasn't like I given up yet or anything like that. It was just like, dude, I'm fucking tired already. Like now I gotta fight cancer, dude. Like
you started processing.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell the audience what you are diagnosed with?
Multiple myeloma, which is a form of cancer in the bone, and it started directly in the bones.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was stage 4 is what they call it, in the bone. I made that deal with God, and I was like, look, you could have my body, but I know that at least if I had it, I could do some severe fucking work for you.
If you think of the past, you get depressed, right? Because you dwell on the past. If you think of the future, you get anxiety because you're like, oh my God, uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. But if you put yourself in the present, it's peace. When did you know that, what signs and symptoms led you to believe that something was wrong?
I don't remember getting sick. I don't remember getting like a flu symptom or anything like that. It was taking more and more for me to get up and walk. And at the time I had a bed that was on the floor. So it was like, I just noticed I'd have to do more when I got out of bed. I'd have to like roll over, get to my knees, get from my knees, get to one knee, stand up, and I get a little lightheaded, and then I go about my day.
Before you knew?
Before I knew.
Oh, wow. Like it took that much energy to...
It was just like, I just didn't notice that I was drained like that. I thought I was like, okay, like maybe I got to stop smoking woods or something. I got to stop with the blunts or something like that. But like, you know what I mean? But it was just me telling myself I was all right a little bit still, just the beginnings of the lies. Like to myself, I would tell. And then 2 weeks later, like I'm sitting there, I can't walk. I can't get up. And I'm not even telling anybody in my house because reasons unknown. Like, you know what I mean? Like just I didn't want to worry them, and I didn't know what was going on. And I would just realize I was doing everything at night so that I can get it done without having to ask for help, without like I wouldn't be able to go downstairs myself. I wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom myself. It got to a point where I was crawling to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
And so like after that, I finally told my dad and my mom, like, hey, like, I think there's something wrong. I think there's something going on. Because there was no sickness. There was no sneezing, no cough, like nothing like that. And then one night after I did get out of bed, I went to the other room where we did have a bed that was off the ground. And I went out and I remember I had my socks on. That room had like wood floors. And where I went down the step on the floor, it was like slippery and it wasn't a good base. And I just remember seeing a white light and just feeling like the worst pain you can't even imagine, like just going through my back. And I had no idea what it was. I just passed out. And I woke up, I was already in the hospital, like, or on the way to the hospital. Whoa. And it was just because they said I was in and out, but my spine had severed at the bottom, actually. That's where I knew from the results that we got about it being cancer, that it was actually cancer, and it had already eaten through my spine. And they said it had eaten up 73% of my bone structure.
How long was this ago?
This was 6 years ago.
6 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
6 years ago. And then the first attack, basically, it happens every 2 years.
Really?
Every 2 years.
Were there any signs even before that? Because this is the first time I'm hearing about it. And that seems pretty serious about, like, it's not just you got up and then all of a sudden you're dizzy.
No.
I mean, you're on the freaking floor, man.
Yeah.
Like, that went from 0 to 100 real quick, because 100%. Usually people will, catch like flu-like symptoms or something and have a headache or, a little back pain here and there. But then you're already on the ground. Was there any telltale signs of anything happening even before you had a hard time getting up in bed and crawling on the floor? Even before that?
No, I just remember having like these swellings come up in my back, like on my neck, and like there would just be like just a raised bump like in my skin, nothing else on it, no rash, nothing like that. And I remember like if I was hot or something, I would, or if I slept weird and I had pressure on it, it would leak. And I was like, oh wow, the fuck is this? And I never said nothing because it's like, what? Just a weird skin thing. It didn't hurt, didn't do anything like that. I just noticed it. And then it felt later on like, okay, I was like, now I can't walk. We go to we actually went to a clinic first, and that's where I got my scans and everything like that. And the lady came in. I remember this like yesterday. She came in. She should not be the ones giving these talks. This lady, she was so sweet, but she was like, "This is the worst part of the job, and like I hate this, everything." Like she's giving me my death speech, right? And like she's like, yeah, this is one of the worst forms of what I've seen. She gave me like a prognosis right there, which I don't even think she was supposed to be doing.
Oh my goodness!
And
Yeah,
she was like, at this rate, it's like you got like probably like 5 years to go. And
what'd she say?
She said 5.
5 years.
Which I got the same prognosis from later on from my oncologist. But
Wow.
it's that was just the first time, and I remember being in there thinking like, that's not what I expected. I thought like something weird was happening. Like I didn't know what I thought was going on. I thought it was a muscle thing or something like that. And then this is, mind you, before I had to get taken to the ambulance actually get my surgery. This is going to the clinic to see what was going on. And so we were going there. I get my scans and everything, and my mom's there. And like it sucks because it's like my mom has seen me going through shit, dude. Like my mom has seen me.
That's always hard for loved ones.
Yeah, and it's like I've always tried to protect her from my shit. Like you know what I mean. And then this one, she was just sitting right there for it. And I remember I just even at the time it was sad. I was like, I'm not going to die.
Sure, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in my head, I was like, I'm not going to die. And then like I go out, me and my mom are going back home. She's driving me back, and I just start sobbing, dude. And I'm like, fuck. And it wasn't like I given up yet or anything like that. It was just like, dude, I'm fucking tired already. Like now I gotta fight cancer, dude. Like
you started processing.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm already tired. I already at this point had lost my dream. You know what I mean? Like I'm not able to fight anymore because I got a bad heart. Like so, it's like, and then like I regained my sanity, like just going back to live with them and like being able to like figure out what normal life is. Like that was my fight at the time.
I want to make sure before like we move on. I want to make sure I got everything. So when you were at the hospital, they did all the tests like CT scans, MRI in particularly.
MRI,
what else? Like PET scans,
blood scans. They did the big ass machine that you got to stay in for like an hour. The MRI. Yeah, every type of
it's
scan.
It's like with color contrast, right? To see if anything lights up.
Yes, and then I had lesions all over me. Like it was just
like where exactly?
Where there weren't holes, there were lesions. Like so, it was like where I had holes in my bones, there were raised up lesions on them that they had to scrape off through surgery, and so it was just in my ribs, my shoulders, my back was the worst, and my legs.
And these are bones.
Yeah, these are the bones. It's no muscle, no tissue, nothing. It's just straight to the bones.
Yeah. And can you tell the audience what you are diagnosed with?
Multiple myeloma, which is a form of cancer in the bone, and it started directly in the bones.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was stage 4 is what they call it in the bone. And
when it metastasizes,
exactly. Right? And it's metastatic. And then also it came in through the way of valley fever, which is coccidiomycosis, which is just a spore that's released from the soil in Arizona. Okay. And so like that's how it all started. And that's what's like attacking every 2 years. And like the way my body reacts to it is what starts up or doesn't start up, like the cancer starting again. And so it's not even remission. It's kind of just paused. Like it's just left in stalemate through the medicine I'm taking for the coccidiomycosis.
Interesting.
So I had to get microwave, dude. Like when I was like just to get like all of it out of my system when they found it, and it was just amphotericin. So I had to go on that for 4 months, where it was just like.
Was it radiation? Was it a type of radiation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what happened was as people will know, it attacks your electrolytes. Like that's the wrong thing. That's the problem. So I died literally 3 times in the hospital just from the medication. Because it attacked my electrolytes. So my potassium would go down, I'd have a seizure, and then I'd hope that my mom or my dad was awake to hear me. I used to leave my door open, and I moved into the door next to them in order for them to hear if I was dying or not. You know what I mean? And so after too much of that, they just had me come in and move to the hospital. And they did my back surgery where they did a thoracic. and lumbar fusion. Well, the first time it was just the thoracic, the top and bottom, or the top and the bottom. They did a little bit, and then the second time, 2 years later, they went. And when I got another like attack, it was the whole spine they fused, and so like and that led to 4 more months of intense radiation, and that led to me almost losing my life again in the hospital just from the medication. And the scary thing about that is like they send you home, like when you have the PICC line in, and you're taking this from like the IV like while you're asleep a lot of times because it's like a 12-hour.
Yeah,
drip.
they gotta keep you dehydrated.
Yeah, and so it's just a gamble every time. Literally every night I go to sleep, it was just like
the anxiety.
All right, like is this gonna be like where I go and I wake up and I'm in the hospital because I was seizing, or am I waking up and my dad's trying to hold me like because I'm just shaking on the ground? I fell out of bed, my head's bleeding because like you know what I mean, like or like what's gonna go on this time, you know? And so it was just like going to bed every night, like just all right, this could be it. It kind of helped me though, you know what I mean? Because it was just I never had really like no, it sounds silly, but like I never had like a fear of death growing up because I wasn't supposed to make it from a kid. Like I grew up, I was born and had to do a couple months in the hospital already. Like I had a hole in my heart. I had things going on with me. I was allergic to dust, air, grass, pollen, and things like that. My dad put me in football. You know what I mean? So it was like my whole life, it was kind of like I wasn't supposed to make it, but I was strengthened by the things I was not supposed to be like around. And so like an exposure treatment type of thing.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like someone with a peanut allergy and then they get exposed to peanuts and then it strengthens your like, immunity. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like that was kind of the mentality when I was going through it too. Like I was like always like I had my moments of like, oh, woe is me, of course, but like it was mostly like I like the closer and closer to like the 4th year of all this, like I was more like there's too much for me to do still. You know?
Yeah.
Like that's when things started turning around. Like I'd say the first 2 years it was kind of like just fuck. Like you know, like I didn't have fight in me no more. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to ask for help fighting. I didn't know how to do it myself. I didn't know how to keep fighting. And I was just prepared, like kind of like to go. And I was like, knew it was going to be a slow one. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like, fuck, man, I don't even have a way to die ugly. So it's like, I just got to sit here. And I was like, there's no way that God created me like I am. And this is how I go out.
Right.
And so, and like, even if it's how I go out, not like inactive, doing nothing, without a mission, not helping, not giving back. So I was like, the only thing I know, and the thing I know I really believe better than anybody else on this planet is fighting. And so, like, I made a deal with God in the hospital, like my 4th year. And I was like, you could have my body. Like, you've always had it. Like, you've always been in control. You've always been the one that's like, nothing is permanent. You're giving it to get you're given responsibilities over the things that you have, your talent, your characteristics, your smarts, the things that you do in life that people turn into careers. Those are things entrusted to you. You know what I mean? So it was like, what have I done with mine? You know, I like didn't make it. So what? I just keep all that to me. Like, you know what I mean? So
like,
are
you gonna waste it away, right? Even though prior to the circumstances or whatever the circumstances are.
Exactly. And before that, I'd coached before, like just not like to the level now, but I made that deal with God, and I was like, look, you could have my body, but I know that at least if I had it, I could do some severe fucking work for you. You know, I don't even need it like that. Just give me enough of my body to where I can start giving back with what I know. And like, give me the people that deserve that, because I'm going to give them everything. And like, if you give me these people, I'm going to put them in a place where their pedestal gets to change the world for you. Like, you know what I mean? Through the ways, I don't care how they do it. I don't care what it is like that they say. And because I know with this, if you brought them to me under this promise, under this guidelines that we've set out in this hospital, then that's what, like, I don't have to worry about that. They're going to go change the world. then that's it.
Yeah, that's such a powerful motivator. And just now, I mean, I think as humans, that's what we want to do. But till we're faced with like adversity like this, especially with you, I mean, with all that pain, because we all know that, cancer affects us in different ways. A lot of people are in pain 24/7, at least just from, people I've known and the podcasts that I've seen, and oh my goodness, botched surgeries that people have had, and they're now in pain.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done to look at like a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Or to have a different perspective when you're that much in pain, especially 24/7.
Oh yeah.
And man, that you almost made me tear up a little bit. I was like, damn, dude, that's some powerful stuff.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, like I think the purpose thing, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because this is going to be like one of the main topics, is that, man, faith and hope is just, it can't be medically understood.
No.
There's no possible way. With the diagnosis and stuff, I've delved into podcasts, cancer, knowing, just for everyone, so if no one knows, I've mentioned it in podcasts. I recently got diagnosed, pancreatic cancer in particular. But mine, man, hearing your story, it's not even fucking close. I don't want to downgrade my, my thing, but then it's like, I'm okay. I'm not in pain. They put a duck thing where the mass is, and I'm like good going about my business. But for the people that are in pain, man, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I can't be like, yeah, I know how you feel. I don't, because that's a terrible fucking thing. And I think it's very resilient of someone not to just kind of give in and have to wake up every day. And what you said, give back to people from the knowledge that you know.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of part of the deal. I knew what it was. Like, you got to think about it. With what's been left with my bones, with these holes in them, muscles are on top of bones, ligaments are on top of bones. Every day you're rubbing and touching those holes.
And it's
like
sensitive.
It's cutting inside.
Right.
It's like that's what I mean. It's not just like a still pain. When I move, it's pain. When I thank God for my, for my girl, Shao, man. She deals with this just as much as I do, dude. Like, there's not a night goes by where she doesn't hear me in pain, doesn't help me with pain, doesn't rub my fucking sore back, doesn't make sure that I'm good before she is. You know what I mean? And it's like, that hurts too, to see what it does to her. And those, the things that people don't see, it's, you can't hold against them either, but you can't hold them against yourself. I get those moments where it's you see those people they're so mean because they might be having a headache, so they lash out at somebody. I don't understand. I don't understand. Because it's I don't do that. And it's not okay, I'm so much, but it's no. Pain gives you a perception of time that is so much longer than the moments anybody else are in. You have the time to think about, how do I truly feel right now? And it's I'm not mad at you. I'm just hurting. And that can go for physical pain or whatever it is.
Absolutely, man. The first thing I did when I did get the diagnosis, and kudos to my work because they've been working for me, but I just cut off work completely. From this point on, it's health the number one, because there's a quote saying, right? And you hear all those people's in their deathbeds. It's what would they do if they had more time?
Yeah.
It's bro, I don't want to, it's perspective. I don't want to worry about when it comes to your health and you're on the verge of this kind of life and death thing. You just don't worry about the things that you used to worry about that you thought were a big deal.
No.
The things that people say to you that are you thought was disrespectful, and or just the minor things in traffic that annoy you.
Right.
It's what the hell? This compares absolutely to nothing, especially from what you're going through. This is bullshit compared to the things that you have to go through on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I did seminary, right? I studied theology in seminary.
Interesting. My dad did too. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, in the Philippines, yeah.
And what they do is sometimes they make you go to these different, any type of, you can go to a Catholic church, you can go to a church, you can go to a mosque and do your time where you're studying, or if it's a Christian seminary, you're witnessing. And so I did time where I was watching over these middle schoolers. I saw a kid who had lost a parent, the pain from that kid. The same pain I saw from a kid whose parent took away their Xbox. You know what I mean? Pain is pain. You know, like
it's subjective to everyone. Yeah, like pain. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you know what
for
I mean?
sure.
Like it's like because that kind of thinking too, kind of like when we were going through it, it'll throw you off. It'll throw you off when it's like yeah, no, I like my pain is not the pain, or this pain is not my pain, or their pain is not this. Nah, fuck that. Pain's pain. Like let's all just hurt. Like
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I didn't mean to like diminish someone else's.
No,
pain.
I mean the world. Yeah,
it's just like we said, it's subjective to us. And hey, trust me, I that's actually one thing that I preach to people. It's like, okay, compared to someone, maybe I'm going off on tangent a little bit. Compared to someone like say has depression and stuff like that, and I'll never know, like that's terrible, or ADHD or something like that, or a medical condition. It's like, here's the other side of it where it's like, damn, dude, I don't know how that feels. It sucks, But then it's also subjective. Like, say if I don't have depression or ADHD, my problems are still like my problems that's in my head that I'm going through, right? It's almost like I think of it as bad as I think of it. It's like, oh, that sucks. Like, even if I almost got hit by a car, like almost died, I'll be like, oh, that sucks. Well, at least you don't have cancer. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's a fight within itself. So I guess you're kind of just subjectively living your life like a simulation through how you feel about it. So I completely get it. I guess to each of their own. And but I think one of the things, not I think, but I know one of the things that I write on a journal every day. And one thing that I write almost every day, because I just write as something pops up, right? It's not like curated. It's not like planned out. I just write it. But one of the things that I do write out is that, man, like I'm very like lucky, like the gratitude thing. I know nowadays the gratitude kind of journal is one of those things, but you really have to like kind of feel it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't just write it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just write. You can't be like, yeah, I'm glad because I have, even if it's real, like I have a roof over my head. I mean, if you don't feel that shit, man, that's not what it's about. It's about having to like really be like, wow, I am fucking grateful. Like, hey, don't get me wrong. If you feel great that you're not homeless, fucking great. But you really have to feel it. It's kind of like we came from not having a home or whatever to getting a home. Like you feel that shit, right? It's like, I can't believe I'm here.
Right.
Yeah. And so the other thing is just what's given me is perspective like I've never gotten before. It's perspective, man. I like sitting here with you. I'm present.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm not even gonna lie. Like when I sit here with people, I'm thinking about what to eat. Sometimes like in and out, like maybe in an hour, and then I'm like, what the fuck? Like bring myself back here. But now it's like, oh, I wrote this on my story one time, and it's one of those things where, in some sort of way, it's kind of there's solitude and not having a future. Yes, because you don't think about too much in the future. What's that? It's like a Buddha saying where if you think of the past, you get depressed, right? Because you dwell on the past. If you think of the future, you get anxiety because you're like, oh my God, uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. But if you put yourself in the present, it's peace, and we're here. You're not thinking about anything. Right? We're just talking. Right. You're not, I mean, I know you're in pain, but then we're talking, your mind's kind of like, we're connecting the dots, we're communicating and filtering out information. But I think it's perspective is if, like God really wanted to give me a gift during here, or it is the gift of perspective, because that's what it's about. It's how you see things. Exactly. But I'm sorry. Can you go on about more of your experiences about like, what you're going through? And then eventually we'll kind of, I've trained with you, obviously at the same gyms, and we'll talk about that. But can you talk more about like, your struggles and again, later on we'll talk about like, some tips to inspire people that are going through the same thing. But carry on with your story.
I'll go right from that night of the deal with God, because it's a very literal deal. Like I made, speaking out loud to nobody, and like I from that first night on, I said like, all right, send me them. I'll make myself ready, And right then I crawled my ass out that bed, and I took as long as it took, probably like 20 minutes to just stand up securely. And like right there from that night on, I would sneak out from my room and use my little gurney thing, or what is it, a walker, to start doing laps in that room.
And when was this? After you got like a surgery?
That was
after
after my back surgery, and after I could put any weight down. I just started getting stronger.
How long was this after? Did you start doing
when
that?
I started doing that, that was when they first took me to my first session on walking again. So it was like, I saw that I could put weight down. I wasn't able to like walk.
Was that like a few weeks after?
After the surgery.
Few weeks, yeah.
And then so probably like a good month after is when I was like, they took me to try to start walking again. And then like I couldn't even, like I had to swing my hip to get my leg in place. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't just upright get the like switching of my weight, striding like that. And so that's what I wanted to practice. And every night I just started falling out to bed, getting myself, if I could catch myself on the thing, cool. But if not, I would just, boom, start walking and just use that walker to just sneak out, do my laps. And then they catch me, send me back to the room, put a nurse on me. And then like as soon as the nurse was gone, I'm out, boom, start working. That persistence, I just started using it. And like I stole it from Shannon Briggs. I was like, let's go, champ. I would just say it to myself all the time, let's go, champ. Let's go, champ.
Right,
come on, champ.
right.
You got this shit, champ. Let's go. Fuck. I would just tell myself,
And you were fighting, like before this, you were fighting, right? Like you were already fighting, like as far as competition.
I was
mixed
already
martial arts, kickboxing.
Yeah, I already had to stop. I had to stop fighting in 2014.
In 2014. And how old were you in 2014?
Shit. I was 20.
Just so we get a clear timeline.
I think I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you fought, and then you had this diagnosis.
Correct.
And then you stop fighting heart problems as well.
Yeah.
And then go ahead and
the heart problems were first. That's what made me have to stop. I had a 28 EKG, like a 28 beat per minute EKG, and they were like, your heart's supposed to beat like 80 to 100, and I was like,
it wasn't pumping out enough.
It was one side I have a hypertrophy, and on one side on the left ventricle, and the sinus has bradycardia. So it's like one side's way too big, one side's way too small.
Okay.
And so like when I'd be fighting, dude, there was fights you could see back on the old Tough Enough fights where I'd be like winning on the feet, and then I just have to grab the guy and like pull guard because the world was turning black. Dude, like, I'm like, and I just didn't know. I just thought I didn't have cardio, bro. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me, And I could hear a coach like, what are you doing? Like, and I'm like, coach, I don't know. I think I'm about to die. Like, but. When I went to go get my pro license, because I got signed with LFA at the time, but I got signed with RFA to make my pro debut, which was a pretty big deal back then because nobody went pro with them. I had to do my pro licenses in California, which is like your heart test, brain, blood, and one more other thing. And then they saw that I had the bad heart, and that's when I had to stop. And it was just like a day before the fight that I got it all done. So I still snuck in and did the fight. And like, it sucked because I still had that on my mind. Like, you know what I mean? Like the doctor was like, dude, with these type of results, you could die if you train. Like you could doesn't matter. Like your heart could just boom. And like, I was like, yeah, but I got to fight. You know what I mean? Like that's my first real pro fight. I had pro fights before, but like my name was changed. I was younger, thrown to the wolves. This was like me actually making it. And so like, that like to have to go through that and like that didn't pan out, and I'm like, that wasn't for me. You know what I mean? I guess it wasn't for me. And then I'm in the hospital years later learning to walk again, and I'm like, okay, I feel stronger. Like, you know what I mean? I'm starting to feel stronger. I'm starting to feel like they're telling me I'm not supposed to feel. And so I just dedicated myself and my being to like getting ready for these future students, and like that's when I sent my message to John Wood from the hospital. He got that message from me in the hospital bed. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, man, I know you remember me from the past. If you ever needed coaches, I'd love to go. Like, this is what's going on with me. And he gave me a shot, And that's when I went out to Syndicate and I began coaching. And I found my guys like Aleko, like Daniel, Will, Stav, so many guys. And it's like, and then I got hit with it again 2 years later. And that's when I had to go get the rest of my back surgery. So
during that time at Syndicate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For just people too that, Lenon was a coach over at Syndicate MMA. That's what we're talking about. John Wood is the owner, and John Wood is the guy that gave him a shot to go to the gym. So just for context, it was a fun time, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that was why I was gone that first time. I had to go back to the hospital, and I once again I was in the hospital again. I'm like, all right. It progressed. got through it, had to go back to that shit again. But you know what? I know how to fight it this time. Like, you know what I mean? I know what to do. I know the mindset to have.
You know, before we move on, you know what's crazy about that is that when you first got to that gym, right? And trust me, I remember someone had told me, I think it was Aram, or someone, they had told me that you had, you know, something terminal, right? But here's another interesting topic is that, you know, when someone has a diagnosis like that, and I'm kind of going through this now, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to react to it. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
So what I mean is that I know that there's you know, and man, like the support has been very, very great and overwhelming.
It's beautiful,
and people
right?
are great. Yeah. Like you just see a whole another side of people. They come together and they're there for you. But then, you know, it'll be a lot of the same things, which again, I'm very, very fond of, but it's just like, you know, let me know if you need me and stuff like that. It's like, well, I don't know what I need.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things that where you don't even know what to say.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, okay, great. And I think I've gotten, I don't know, like tons of messages like that. Like, let me know if you need anything. It's like, well, what am I going to say? Like,
Show
hey,
up.
man, can you like give me like...
You just show up. And I'll tell y'all right now, you just show up.
Yeah. And what you mean by that is interesting because I have a few friends that are just very proactive. Like they're the ones that, and again, I'm very grateful for everyone showing support, but then the friends, there's a few of them that are just like, they'll give you a call and they'll be like, hey man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, and then they'll act like you don't even have it. They'll just be like, hey, you want to go to dinner?
Yeah.
Like shit like that.
It's
or
beautiful.
they'll, like one of my friends, one of my girlfriends, she'll bring me like this backpack. She brought me this backpack, which I didn't even ask for. I mean, I got millions of backpacks, but it's like, damn.
They
you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, and then she wrote a note on it. And I think it's so profound. It's just so like, wow. It's
because they're fighting with you. Like, it's the same thing as sending somebody to fight in a cage that you know. It's like, you're in there with them. You know how that is when you have a best friend in there that's fighting. And
Absolutely,
it's like, you're in that
It's
fight
an emotional
with them.
experience.
Yeah, you're right there with them. You're at the height of your emotions. You're about to cry. You're about to get mad. You'll fight somebody if you need to. Like, they're right there with you. And it's like, but also like, don't think that these motherfuckers are going to treat you different either. There's also people out there that are like, don't expect decency as well. Like,
of course, you're not entitled to that. Number one, I mean, you're not entitled to anything, honestly. Like, even if it's support or if it's you know, like indecency, whatever, you're not entitled to anything. No one's entitled to anything. I didn't even, you know, I mean, knowing us too, and I'm sure for the most part, most people, they don't. That's not kind of the attention that you want. You want support, but it's almost like you don't want people to feel pity for you now, right? That's like that pity kind of like, oh man, it's like you're just a small puppy dog that's useless now. It's like, nah, dude, like I'm still up and running. It's me. It's just
I got down to, I should say, like 120 something pounds, like out of the hospital. And like even looking back on my own picture, I'm like, damn. And it's like I remember seeing that on people's face. Like, you know what I mean? I see it now, like with the outbreak that I got now because of it, being an attack again. It's like, and I see it on their face, and it's like you don't gotta get enveloped in those thoughts. You don't gotta get enveloped in what they're thinking. They're having their own experience with you in that moment. You can't blame them for that.
Of course.
It's like, but also at the same time, you want to hit a nigga sometimes.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah. I mean, again, you can't blame people because honestly, before I got this, that's why I brought it up. It's almost like when I first heard about you, right? Especially when it's something that serious. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Of course, I feel for you. But then I'm thinking in my head, is it better just to like not ask them? That's too private. Or is it like, should I just be nice? You know what I mean?
Right.
There's all this stuff going through your head as far as like how you support someone. And sometimes you just don't know. So that's kind of what the paradigm is now for me, is just kind of like, you're not entitled to anything, like I said, but then...
What would you prefer?
For me?
Yeah.
Just for people to act normal.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's probably the obvious, but it's just like, hey, what's up, bro? You know what I mean? And for the most part, most people do. They do. And I think sometimes it's in your own head that it's like, he probably feels sorry for me or something. You know, right? Like you're making shit up in your head.
Yeah, real talk.
Yeah, and but for the most part, like, you know, at the gym, Syndicate particularly, man, yeah, a lot of people people that I don't even talk to on a daily basis that I'm like connected to, I feel like I could be connected to. They showed out, dude. Like they showed up. It's crazy. Like just the small things, right? Like nothing major. They'll just kind of message me. They're like, how you doing, bro? Like shout out. There's this guy, Adam, that I roll with, Adam Blazarian, and he sent me like teas and honey and books and stuff. And me and him are good trading partners. We joke around and we have great rolls, right? But then it's not one of those things where, yeah, Adam, let me call you on the weekend, man. Let's go have dinner or something. It's just, I didn't even know. Like we just say hi to the gym. But people just show out. That's what I mean. It's like, whoa, like this guy is genuinely like that. You know what I mean? When shit hits the fan.
Right.
And that's the beauty in it. That's the perspective that I'm talking about when I see beauty in people. Because, not to make it about myself, it's just, I used to be a little bit pessimistic when it came to people. It's almost like, oh man, he's like a hater. Fuck that guy. Like, he thinks he's better. But now it's like, I again curated it in my own head. I'm like, I'm not any better, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just, going around hating.
right. You don't even realize you're doing it. You're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But then you got that new vision.
Exactly. So, with everything that's going on, and I know, and again, thank you for your time. You're, I know that you get outbreaks and you're on a lot of pain. You talked a little bit about it, but what has driven you the most on like your purpose, right? I know you've been fighting since you were pretty much a kid, but what was it that got you through, man? You talked a bit about like, having a purpose and teaching, the up and comers and all that. Was it, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that, was it martial arts to save your life, man? When it came down to it, was it your perseverance? Like, what do you think is getting you through, and what got you through your hardest times, like after surgery and all that stuff?
My mission. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I learned how to walk twice again now. That 5-year prognosis, this is year 6. You know what I mean? Like,
congratulations.
Thank you.
It's fucking amazing. That's amazing.
It's not me though. Like I'm doing the things, they said no bending, lifting, no twisting, no pressures over 10 pounds, no walking, no things like that. I train fighters, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like I train fighters. It's up here, but mostly it's your faith. Like and faith without works is dead. Like the trying of your faith makes it perfect. When your faith is tried, it makes your faith perfect. Meaning perfect, not meaning flawless. That's what people think. Perfect is not flawless. Perfect means it lacks nothing. So like if your faith lacks nothing, that means and your actions of your faith lack nothing, you're living out your reality. What people call manifesting, that's faith. That's living your faith. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I just got back from training a guy who did the best and one of the best damn outputs that he's done. Like that's why I can go through the things that I go through, even hurting, like every single day, and I'll just lace the fuck up and I'll get in there. And it's like, no, I'm not going to tell you God takes away the pain while I'm doing it. I'm not going to tell you that it's like, no, it makes it easy. No, it doesn't. This shit sucks. But it's like inside of me, there's a fire that like while that pain is going on, I see Josh Augustine working for his son King. I see him in his eyes where he's going to be to make the world different. God allows me to see that while I'm working. When I'm working with my girl Xiaoya, I see how she's going to inspire millions of girls and boys who are from a different type of culture to do what they can do just by her being her.
There's not a lot, and shout out Xiaoya, because when you look at the whole perspective, like Instagram and stuff like that, she's probably in the top 1 to 5%, meaning as a whole, like she's just, a girl trying to make it up there in a domain that isn't normal for that. I shouldn't say normal, but then it's still hard in today's society to make it up there. But with guidance and perspective, as you talked about with purpose and her hard work and her ethic and her beliefs, I mean, you put those formulas together, man. Fuck, like it makes for an unstoppable faith.
Right. And that's why I'm here. I see things like that, and it's just little affirmations. I see Aleko, guys like that, or Stav. Like, if you ever get a chance to talk to somebody, talk to Stav Koren about his journey on this. That dude has gone through literal hell for his journey here. And I got to corner him for a fight where I know God brought us together because he needed me, and I needed him too, because I needed to see how good I was
absolutely
as a coach and then how I could do a camp. he was 2 fights in against a guy who was 9-0, you know, and he's Israeli. It was versus a Palestinian. And so we're going over there, and dude, we're in hostile territory, dog.
How fitting.
Man, and we're in hostile territory. And I knew that God put me there for me to be exactly who I am for him. And like, I don't see how that one, like, I'll just say it, like, I don't see how that one could have got done without the camp exactly ran how we ran it. And nobody was else involved with me and him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, little affirmations like that lets you know that like God is in your passion. Like people always try to find us elsewhere. Like, oh, we're like they're praying to nothing. They don't have a higher power even, so how can they have a God? Your God is in your passion. Whatever you were born to do, make that your priority, especially if you're going through something to where like your life is like definitely got numbers on it. Like make your priority your passion, and make your passion how you praise God. Like it's not about just doing it to stay alive, because for me, it wasn't about doing this to stay alive. It was like, I got to get this done before I die. You know, that's what I mean by my mission, you know? And like, and now that it's like, I don't see doom and gloom about it at all anymore, but like, I keep the reality in my mind. You know what I mean? Like these days are gifted, just like that God can give anything and take it away. I can wake up tomorrow and get in a car accident. You know what I mean? And it's like, what will my mission have done? But guess what? Like, I know that I've planted seeds. You know what I mean? And like, that's how you get the peace to die. You know, like by what you do on your work and not staying stagnant. Everything that these motherfuckers in this Western like idea of medicine is going to tell you to go stagnant. It's going to leave you stagnant. It's going to...
Yeah, weird. Like, dude, it's so weird.
Yeah.
My doctor, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, it's just they're trained like that a little bit. They go by the book.
Yeah.
And I guess he was hesitant to kind of tell me like a prognosis and stuff when I first got it. Because, some particularly in mine, it is aggressive for the most part. But then he said... I asked him, and he said, 3 to 4 months without treatment, like a year with treatment. I'm like, I certainly don't feel that way. I probably should have been dead a long time ago if it was just 3 to 4 months. Like from here on out, are you serious? I should have died like 3 years ago. If that was the prognosis that you're giving me. So that one, I didn't even discount. Like I didn't even entertain that thought. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like that's literally what I was saying in my head.
That's not yours.
Yeah, and then it's almost personal. You know, not towards him. Like I don't have animosity against the doctor. That's what they got to do. But it's like, you don't even know me, man. You don't know that I train every day. You don't like, you don't know how like the connections that I have with people. It's so weird that they don't take that into account.
Yeah, they don't.
Dude, when I was a quick thing before we move on, like when I have this nurse, she's a sweetheart, and she's like a quote unquote, yeah, they're sweethearts, dude. They're like, she's a nurse navigator, and you know she does like all the paperwork for you. She'll guide you to oncologist, chemo and stuff like that. And when she was asking about me, she was the only one that asked what I did out of the medical oncologist, the surgical oncologist, my GI doctor. She said, so are you active? I was like, I train every day. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's crazy. All right. Here's the like epiphany of it is that, this isn't like a pat on the back, but most people don't. That's why I get it. You know what I mean? Most people, especially going on a tangent here, most people in like the American diet, quote unquote, they're on the other side of that, right? It's kind of like, well, what's the percentage that people aren't active and don't work out? Well, you're on the fucking high end of that, man. That's probably like, I would argue 90% of Americans.
Gotta be.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
And in comparison to what we call.
Exactly.
Especially.
Exactly. What we call active is like not even real. Like Shaolin trains like fucking 5 hours a day. Like it's ridiculous. So I could see and for the patients that they see, the majority of that are like that. Because one time I got blood work, right? And the nurse was like, dude, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because most people that come in here, like they have high cholesterol, high sugar levels. I'm like, wait, you're telling me like I'm not normal? Like what do you, I thought that's supposed to be normal, right? You go on blood work and you're like, okay, you're okay. But most people will come there with like, some disorder.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah. And you must have forgot that since you've been living this lifestyle for a long time, coaching, training, been surrounded by people that train and stuff like that, you forget like, oh, there's another side of where people don't train. Exactly. And that's a lot of it. Right. Or aren't active. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going back to my point,
it's about those people. Yeah, it's true.
Going back to my point, I mean, going a full 180, you can't even blame them.
Yeah.
Because they see that shit every day.
That's
it's like, oh God, this guy's like morbidly obese. He's not doing anything. He has a divorced wife. Like, you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And he drinks every day.
Yeah.
Like most people.
Yeah, and because you can't even blame them because that's who they're talking to. That's who they're talking about.
Most of the time. Yeah. And so she had, she asked me and she was so shocked. She was like, what? What do you mean? And you know what she told me? Like, knowing what I know and then what I just told her, she was like, "Whoa, that's cool. You train martial arts? Wow. Like, what do you do?" I'm like, jiu-jitsu and like there's some grappling and, striking, Muay Thai. And she said, can you be active, do some light work, 60 minutes a day? I was like, dude, I go like 3 hours hard, like every day. She was like, what do you mean? Even with this diagnosis?
Yeah.
I'm like, I could go like 5.
Yeah, let's go. What are you talking about?
I'm like,
what do you want me to
normal?
do? They want you to just sit on the shelf and wait to die, dude. And it's like, don't you understand that's how that happens? Like, like I don't believe like in what they call the mind. I think it's just your being, your connection with. People call it like they got the mind, spirit, or the mind, body, spirit, right, or whatever they say. I think there's actually we are four-parted. I think we have our mind, our body, our spirit, and our soul. Our spirit being connected to everything else that's living on earth, and our soul being connected with us and our creator.
Yep.
With that, like that connection you have with your creator can change your whole world. You know what I mean? So it's like your belief can be something that changes your whole world. Like if you believe that this diagnosis this motherfucker's told me, then that's how you're going to live. You know what I mean? That's what's going to be the fruit of your actions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you reject it just like that and like that's silly.
What?
That's silly. Yeah.
A lot of people, and going back to it, a lot of people will accept it because modern medicine now is almost for a lot of people is the end all be all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, man, I hope this chemo fucking fixes me or this doctor tells me. It's like they have no other alternative.
Right.
So, man, this is going to be pretty hardcore to some people, right? But, I had this thought, and it's just my way of thinking that I was telling my friends, my good friends, and I don't know if this comes off arrogant, but I was like, listen, if you were to give someone this diagnosis, right? I was telling my friend this, like, having a conversation. If you were to give someone this diagnosis, would you rather have me take it or someone else? Like I said, nothing's promised. I don't expect anything. If shit goes south, it is what it is. I've done what I can, right? But that's the key, is do the best you can to try to survive or whatever.
Right.
But rather have the best chances for me. Nothing's guaranteed, but the best chances for me to be active, eat right, have social connections, get some sunlight, take vitamins, be routined. Other than, someone random, like, that's on like an American diet, fucking like 60 years old, age, is a factor of it, 70 years old. That's not active at all, that listens to just modern medicine. That's all the end all be all, like we said. Right. Fucking like rather give it, if you had someone to bet on, to up their chances, fucking give it to me, man. Like, fuck it, like, I don't want to seem arrogant about that.
No.
Like, I don't, not in a cocky, stupid, arrogant way. But it's like, dude, okay, if someone had to take it for the team, it's kind of like giving it to, this is a terrible comparison, probably off the charts, but it's like give it to a Navy SEAL compared to like a civilian that had to go on a fucking mission.
No, I get you.
That's equipped.
You were built to endure. It's like a thing, like you feel like I could do this. Like I'm like if there's got to be anybody, I got it.
Yeah. Again, nothing's promised to me. I could probably croak the next day. That's just the reality.
It's kind of like
life.
what we all knew about Jones versus Miocic, right? Like you just didn't see the fight play out, but you kind of knew.
Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? Like that's the same relativity. Like you know what I mean? And it's like
And that's soul. That's that's the connection that you're talking about. It's soul. I don't have the evidence. Like I don't. I know I have the toolbox. I don't have the evidence that I'm going to survive in a year.
Right.
But then I have a feeling. I have a strong inclination of like, yeah, this isn't gonna fuck. This isn't it for me. Like this isn't it.
Right.
Compared to the diagnosis that they said, and compared to how I feel, it doesn't match up. It just doesn't. I'm like, okay, you're bullshit. Like almost.
I believe you.
Like okay,
I believe you.
But going back to you, man. Like so, you still train, fighters. You know, like your girlfriend, your lovely girlfriend, and other fighters. Can you talk a little bit more about that, man? Especially relating to the diagnosis and how you carry yourself on an everyday basis with what you have, and how you go about your day with that, and how has coaching. Yeah, just talk a little bit more further about that, if you can, on your day to day. Yeah,
well, I'll wake up like super early just to start stretching. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll lay back in the bed if I can, if it's a good night, something like that. I'll make I'll make sure that like if I didn't have a good night before, I'll start taking the ibuprofen, start like doing something for the pain at least for a little bit, and then get to taping what I need to tape, get my little solid self together, and then once we're off to the gym, like I still gotta do it like I'm training. Like she must hate hearing the same songs all the time and stuff like that, but it's like I like sometimes not even sometimes, a lot of time I just gotta get myself in a mode, and it's like usually songs that are hitting on certain points for me that are like, you know what I mean, that get me motivated and get me to where it's like using this pain as just fuel, and like it's just like I said, every second it hurts, everything it hurt. Like you holding me, it's like I got weak skin, I got lesions on my skin and shit like that, because it's like it knocks it off and I don't grow back stuff well.
It's like the side effects of the medication.
Exactly. And it's like, dude, like it's not going to be pretty. I've made a promise to myself to die ugly if I got to. But it's like, that's what gives me the strength to live,
Hold on. You've made it yourself to die ugly. Wow, that's powerful, man.
Like sometimes that's the most you're going to get out of life is like a chance to die ugly. Like,
No, I completely get what you're saying. Like, that was wow. That was a fucking cold drop right there.
But it's a mic drop. It's life though, man. You're never gonna live as much as you can until you live like you're dying. I know, but people don't know what it means to live like they're dying. It's like some people like us might have to be forced with it because of something inside us that we're gonna give to the world that needs to be given. Yes. And it's like it forced us to that point.
And unfortunately, this is going to be sad to say, but unfortunately, you almost have to, even if you don't have like a diagnosis like this, you almost have to reach rock bottom in order for you to realize that, right? Well, you can say all the quotes and principles that we want, but till shit hits the fan, you don't know how you're going to react. All of a sudden, you get a fucking diagnosis. You're like, oh, your world turns upside down all of a sudden with surgeries and pain and doctor's appointments. Oh, shit just got real.
Right.
So you better walk the walk
and
not go around looking virtuous, talking.
Oh, yeah. No, because you're gonna be exposed.
Yeah,
before or after, like for who you were before or who you are after. Like, and it's like, yeah, man. Like, you just gotta you gotta think of it as like it was never knife was never for me anyway. Like what you gotta really put. That's the biggest perspective that it comes from. This is like, who was this for? If I'm living for me, let me go now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, there's no, like, what?
Yeah, it's like...
I'm going to remember me when I die?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and most people, including me, before, and even sometimes still, right? You can't be helped but to be selfish because it's you.
Right.
But, you're 100% right. All that bullshit money that you're going to make and that status that you're going to gain and people loving you and knowing you. Yeah, that doesn't mean shit. You realize that doesn't mean shit.
They don't come take that shit.
Completely. It doesn't mean anything. So, when you're going around coaching, there is a higher purpose of that. Now,
every day.
Now I guess we'll get into the martial arts aspect of it, relating. So how is it, man? Like, even cornering with, the pain that you're in and all that. How can you talk about, just to end the podcast, how it's helped you in, all the ways? Is it, just talk about that a little bit.
it helps me just by like getting that affirmation. Well, a couple of different affirmations. One is fuck their prognosis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two is like, I'm really that nigga. Like,
yeah, right. Like I'm him.
Like
I'm him.
him. Like, and it's not in a sense of like, look what I did. Definitely not. It's like, look what God did because of what I can do for others. That's why I'm him.
Wow.
Yep. You know what I mean? It's like,
wow.
Like, who do you get help from? Him. Amazing. That's what people say. Him. But it's not like I'm him. It's like, no, I'm only him because of him. You know, like there's no like, it's no stretch of the imagination I have to myself that I can do any of this without that deal with God. And I know people are gonna maybe hear that weird, but without my faith. That's the biggest thing about me is my faith and my vision. Like, and I don't allow my vision to be clouded by anything. Like that's like that might. It's like you always got to be honest with yourself. But like when I'm cornering people, like how I do it, I'm not cornering you unless like it's been a camp. You know what I mean? I've like and so I know you. Like we're doing this together. You know every bit of the pain I go through. You know, not every bit. You know a little bit of the pain I go through over the weekend. You definitely gonna see it because it's like a flight somewhere, staying in the hotel. Like it's gonna be. You're going to see, and you might feel bad, but you're going to know I'm here for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
ultimately, that's what gets you through. And I could see that just talking to you, man.
Yeah. They're not leaving me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't leave me if you wanted to. Like, I know that's how they feel. Like, they know that, like, coach is going to walk there if he has to.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Or crawl there.
That's it. That's it. And it's like, that's just going to be it. And, like, I don't give a fuck how you feel. If you feel guilty about that, doesn't matter. Let's go win this fight.
Yeah.
Like, no, because you don't feel that's my journey. You know what I mean? It's not on you. It's on you to listen and go get this W. You know what I mean? Or this L, whatever it means. Because it's about the big picture. Like, I don't take on guys for one fight or nothing like that. It's like, in my mind, if you're with me, I know we're getting to the top. Because it's just been prepared that way. Like, it's not even up to me. I'm just doing my part, you know?
Yeah, you're just a piece of the puzzle.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I just am so confident in it because I see it with me as my own affirmation. Like with me being able to walk still and all that stuff. Like every morning I will wake up, like not every morning, but most mornings I do get up, sneak down. It's been rough lately, but I'll sneak down and look at my walker. I'll look at my brace. I'll look at the things I will need one day in the future, possibly still. And like, it's not in like a way of like, all right, that's waiting for you. Doom and gloom. It's just like, how much can you get done before you can't? You know,
right.
Like, and that right there, it makes life different. You know, life is different. Time passes different, and your intention on everything, just there's no reason not to smile. Like, if you ever notice when you're in a zone, nothing's gonna make you sad. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it, and it's just. Life should be in a way that like you're living in your zone, you're living in your purpose, you're living with that passion because that mission is the only thing that's worth anything.
Yes.
You know? Like it's like to see you like I see you're getting either closer, you found your mission. Like, dude, stay on that.
Yeah.
Because that's what's all this has been for.
Exactly.
Everything that's happening right now for you is it's for this. Whatever's gonna come out of what you find from this that you can change the world from, and that's how you're gonna live. Like, and it's like that's how you're gonna live through your actions. That's how you're gonna live through this, and that's what's gonna make you live on no matter what. You know what I mean? Because it don't matter if it's just for us. Nothing fucking matters if we're doing it for ourselves. Like, I wasn't supposed to be the greatest fighter ever, but the coach. You know what I mean? Like at one point in my mind. I lost my mind because I didn't get to become the greatest fighter ever. There's a year in my life I don't remember. Like, and it's just, I never thought I'd get to the point where I'd say, no, this is what I was supposed to be a coach. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't even supposed to be a fighter. Fuck fighting. I never thought I'd ever be able to say that. But here I am right now. And it's like, don't ever discredit what God can do, and don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. You know, like, people have run from discomfort, and it's like, dude, that's a strong point. If you can be uncomfortable, you can tune in, you know? Yeah,
that's amazing. There's just so many things I could say about, you know, getting diagnosed with this, and a lot of it is just priceless. A lot of it is just, like at first, yeah, you're going to have your bad days. But again, this is so cliche and you hear it in movies, but there's something to this that it's not in stoicism and stuff, but then it's not about what happens to you. It's what you do about it.
Yeah.
And that's never been more emphasized when you're actually going through it, right? You hear it in the Rocky movies and then you're like, damn, that's a little corny. But then when you're actually going through something and you have this like enlightenment and then you are actually living it, that's when shit gets real. And then that's when it helps you out the most.
Yeah.
Is that, when you really need it the most. It's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Because regardless of not having control, a lot of control, because we don't have a lot of control what happens to us. But the thing is that you do reap what you sow, right? So you reap what you sow for today, right? And maybe you might not get what you want in the future, but you keep reaping. And then eventually, I don't know how it's going to happen. And we both seen it, you'll see some type of result, regardless if it's the results you want, but the results are going to be in your favor. Not that you should think about the results, just think about reaping and doing kindness for other people and keep training. And eventually something good will happen. There's no way, if you do it from good intentions in your heart and it's pure, there's no way that it can't happen. Good things won't happen to you. There's no way.
Bro,
because that's not how God set it up. You know what I mean? That's just like, it's just, I guess the word karma, I guess. You know what I mean? It's just, that's how it is. And don't do it for the results. Just do it because you want to do it.
And you're living that. As I'm sitting here right now, this is the speakeasy.
Yeah.
If people don't know history, what a speakeasy is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where your story is from and having pancreatic cancer. But look what you're doing.
Yeah.
What brought you death? Maybe the drinking.
Right.
What's bringing you life? Talking through this speakeasy, like about not drinking, how to live a better life.
Yep.
You're doing, and that all formed before you knew about this.
Yeah.
But there's not a great architect. There's not a,
right.
You know what I mean?
Listen, this right here, it's a beautiful thing. It brought us here, right? You're here now. Look at what this thing and everything had to happen to us.
Exactly.
Like, all this for us to be here in this like beautiful moment that we can talk about and inspire people, maybe give people some tips for people that are going through the same things.
It's the people right now that you love most.
Yeah.
And like, dog, that's beautiful.
Being an inspiration,
that's
right?
you, dog.
That's you too.
But I mean,
that's like, you know what I mean? That's us. That's why we're here to just serve.
Yes.
That's what it is, what it comes down to. But man, I really appreciate your time. And man, there's a lot of what I like to call nuggets in here that's really helped people out. You've served a lot of people just in this podcast alone.
Thank you.
With your story, because there are levels to this. I was thinking about this the other day. There are levels to this. Just because I have something that's kind of similar, it ain't the same. You're in pain, you know what I mean? And I'll never say, yeah, I know how you feel, because I don't, right? You have your own set of problems. I have mine. And man, you're a warrior, man. I look at you in a different light, especially after talking to you here and what you had to go through. I couldn't imagine. That's just it. I couldn't imagine. And God bless you for doing all the things that you do for people. And Jesus, I'm probably going to live, honestly, whenever my time comes, I'm probably going to live another 5 years. I'm not joking, because of this talk, right? It's just kind of like when I, whatever, if things don't go in my favor and I'm in pain, whatever, I'm going to think of this conversation and be like, nah, people have been through worse. And I remember Lenon telling me this, and if he could do it, I could do it.
Well, I live 5 minutes away, so you're never going to be having those conversations alone either if you don't want to.
No, I appreciate that, buddy.
Love you,
Thank you so much, all right?
Yes, sir. I love you.
All right, awesome.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.